In 1979, the Cougars hoped to take a big step up in national recognition by playing highly ranked Texas A&M in the season opener. BYU had never beaten a nationally ranked team outside the WAC.
They had a lot of players that went and played in the pros, and they had 2 or 3 first-round draft picks. So they had a very talented team, and they were justifiably ranked very high, and people really didn't know about us, you know, coming from Provo, Utah.
Mark Wilson nearly missed the game because of a burst appendix. Instead, he rallied BYU to victory, throwing the winning TD pass with only 52 seconds remaining. They would not lose another regular season game that year. Mark Wilson was the All-America quarterback and finished 3rd in the Heisman balloting. His graduation marked the end of the most successful era to date in BYU football history. But unlike the gloomy end of Gifford Nielsen's career, BYU fans look forward to 1980 with great anticipation because a brash but gifted youngster named Jim McMahon was waiting in the wings. In 1980, Cougar fans expected perfection and nearly got it, losing only once. For the first time in its history, BYU won 12 games in a single season. Jim McMahon's performance surpassed all expectations. He shattered 71 NCAA records while winning 25 of the 28 games he started at BYU.
He had a great sense for reading coverages and reading defenses. Besides the fact he had a strong arm, but and also his leadership on the field. When he was out there, he was in charge. I remember my freshman year. It was the 3rd game, and he threw a receiver off the field. And you know, I kind of sat there. Like, the receiver kind of looked at him and said, "Get out of here." He says, "You're not catching the ball. Get off the field." I think the kid went on the sidelines and cried. But you know, that was the kind of leader he was. He would just take control, and it was his team out on the football field.
By nature, we do what the defense allows us to do. I mean, that's philosophically, that's what we try to do. He sometimes disregarded the defense. He says, "Hey, I'm going to make this play happen anyway, because, you know, show me that you're better than I am." And that's what he brought to us.
Ironically, the Cougars' success in 1980 put them face to face with their greatest shortcoming, failure to win the Holiday Bowl. BYU disappointed the Western Athletic Conference, losing in the Bowl's first 2 seasons. In the 1980 Holiday Bowl, the Cougars confronted not only SMU, but a pressure-packed must-win situation.
I think of all the games that I've ever gone to, that game felt more pressure in that one than I did even the national championship game in '84.
The Cougars attacked SMU with everything they had. In spite of superlative performances by Jim McMahon and tight end Clay Brown, they were losing the battle. A Craig James touchdown gallop gave the Mustangs an overwhelming 45-25 lead with only 4 minutes to play. The Pony Express left the Cougars for dead.
I was ready to go in and put my clothes on and just pack up and leave. I was one of those that if I'd have been sitting in the stands during that game, down 20 points or whatever it was, I'd have been heading for the exits.
On BYU's next possession, still down by 20, they faced fourth and hopeless.
I remember asking Doug Scoville, he was standing next to me, I said, what do you want to do? And he said, let's punt. So I sent the punting team in, and Jim McMahon came off the field, took his helmet off and slammed it down, and was just really, really upset. And I was thinking, well, this doesn't make sense to punt. So I called timeout and called Jim over and told Doug that we're going to go for it, and to give Jim a play.
McMahon got a first down, then a touchdown. The Cougars still have a pulse. With 2.5 minutes to play, they trailed by 2 touchdowns, but the bounces were beginning to go their way. Incredibly, it took only 35 seconds for BYU to score. Like a cat with 9 lives, the Cougars had clawed back to within 6, but they still needed a miracle, maybe 2.
Capus, out of Kansas City, gets a kick is blocked! The kick was blocked by Shefflin! Shefflin blocked the kick for Brigham Young, and the Cougars have the ball!
Suddenly, the Cougars had a chance, one desperate chance to pull off the greatest comeback in college football bowl history.
Everybody run right to the goal line, all 3 receivers. 2 tight end and 2 wide receivers. Throw it up, yeah.
I think a lot of us were on our knees praying, that maybe something would happen. But I just remember the ball being in the air for 10 minutes. I mean, a 50-yard pass took forever to even come down.
Back to throw. Last down. No time on the clock. It's up in the air. It is deep. It is what?
He caught it! It's a touchdown!
Touchdown on the last play! And Brigham Young has won it! A miracle catch!
If that had been on network at that time, I think that they would be talking about that like they did the Doug Flutie Hail Mary pass against Miami, because this one is even much more spectacular than that one was.
It's often been overlooked that Kurt Gunther's extra point actually provided the narrow margin of victory. Those hardy fans who stayed for the finale not only witnessed one of the greatest moments in BYU football, but took part in one of the most remarkable events in college football history. In 1981, the Cougars found themselves in the midst of the hottest title race in WAC history. The University of Hawaii had upset on its mind when BYU came to Honolulu. A fortunate bounce of the ball kept the Cougars' title hopes alive. As fate would have it, BYU and Utah would meet in Provo the final week of the season to decide the WAC championship. The largest crowd ever to witness a football game in the Beehive State packed Cougar Stadium for this historic confrontation. Never in this long rivalry had BYU and Utah met to decide a championship. This day would belong to the Cougars. Jim McMahon passed for more than 560 yards and set 7 NCAA records. The 56-28 triumph had BYU fans packing for another holiday in San Diego.